Hello everyone, my name is Shelby and I want to welcome you back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if this is your first time seeing a video of mine. Today I want to talk about a side hustle that I've been doing for about 2.5 years-ish, which is being a day of coordinating assistant / day of coordinator for weddings. And I think this is a side hustle that probably a lot of people don't know about because every time I talk about it I get questions, even just like in my personal life, like people are like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, oh, I worked a wedding, whatever. And people are like, oh, like, what do you do there? Like, people just want to know things about weddings. So I feel like unless you've like planned a wedding or like were in a wedding or something, you might not know about this niche side hustle. But I want to talk about the pros and cons, whether or not I'm going to continue doing a day of coordinating, and kind of like how I got into it and all those things. So that interests you, stick around. I talk about all things side hustles, some thrifting things, making money things, all types of things on this channel. So if you like what you see, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one as well. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to how I kind of got into this side hustle. So I'm an event planner full time, and I have been for several years now. Not all the same company, but when I worked at my last company, we were hiring an event staffing company to help with one of our large scale events. And so I wanted to sit down with the woman who was that event staffing lady and talk to her about just like, I offered to buy her a coffee because I was like, I want to talk about this because she does weddings usually. And I was like, well, I'm looking for more like side hustle type stuff. And she's like, oh, well, you could totally be like a day of coordinating assistant, things like that. So then once she sat down with me, she was like, oh, you already like are an event person. So she hired me as one of her day of coordinating assistants / lead planner, which when I say lead planner in these instances, I'm like still just a person that like shows up the day of. We might talk about the wedding a little bit beforehand, which I don't necessarily need to know that much stuff beforehand. I just need to know like where I'm parking and where it is, what time I need to be there beforehand. And everything else I can handle when I get there. And I feel like it's not that necessary for me to know a bunch of details a couple days in advance because I can just learn about it when I show up. But anyway, so even me, when I mentioned lead planner, that's still, I'm not like coordinating with the client before the day of the event, like at all. That's the benefit of working under a couple different planners. So I work under I'm going to use everything as like present tense, even though I don't think I'm going to work under them much next year unless it's like something super easy and close by. But anyway, so I work under 2 planners, and then I work for a venue sometimes. Working for the venue is my favorite because it's easy. It's just one venue, and so weddings that are like pretty much generally the same, like the timeline pretty much runs the same and all of that. So that's great. I've only done like maybe 5 weddings with that venue. So I'm kind of like a backup coordinator for them if their main people are not available. But so there's that. And then I'm an assistant planner under 2 different planners. One of them I'm an assistant sometimes, and sometimes I'm a lead planner. So sometimes I'll do a wedding by myself with that planner, or I'll do a wedding as an assistant with a lead, or I'll do, actually, I still have another one. So, or I am the lead and I have an assistant, or sometimes she's had me just come for setup, which that's like super easy, and I'll pretty much always do that because it's like $25 an hour and it's just like easy. Like she only needs me for like 4 hours-ish, or like somewhere in between there. Sometimes it's only like 2 hours. It might not be like really worth my time, but it's also easy and you're not staying there like late, and it just has a lot of the different aspects have a lot of different like values. But then so I work for a venue, work for that planner. Then I work for a planner that I am always an assistant coordinator, and she has a large team. So it's her name's Love, actually, which is kind of funny that she does weddings. But Love is the lead planner always on those weddings. And then she usually has like 3 or 4 or 5 assistant coordinators working one wedding, which is crazy, but she does do like more luxury, extravagant weddings. So it is helpful to have more assistants there, even though I feel like we don't always need like 4 assistants at a wedding, because like I said, with the other planner, like I've done weddings where it's just me and I'm the only coordinator. And so that you do need, I'm not going to say it's not hard when you're the only coordinator, but you need a good photographer, the DJ to know what he's doing because, well, let me just get into the duties of, so this position, like I said, there's multiple different ways you can do it under a venue, under a planner. You could do your own thing, which I tried to do for a while. I did coordinate a quinceanera on my own, but I don't like dealing with people. So it's like having a talk with them beforehand for the event and like getting all these details from them, and like that's just not for me, which is funny because I am an event planner by like trade, but I don't like planning like individual people's events. Like it's not for me. I don't like being my own boss. I like someone just telling me what to do. I like showing up and being given tasks and solving problems. That's easy for me. But anyway, so in a day of coordinating assistant role or day of coordinating in general is basically someone you hire for your party or your event, mostly for weddings. You would hire a day of coordinator. They handle your timeline. They're gonna like send your bridesmaids and groomsmen down the aisle on time and make sure everyone's where they're supposed to be. Find the flower girl's basket. Oh my God, we don't have petals for the flower girl's basket. She's gonna go pull a rose out of some bottom of a flower arrangement and make the petals so that the girl can have flower petals to throw down the aisle. She's gonna maybe make the plate for the bride and groom so that it's ready at their sweetheart table. She's gonna gather, sometimes the catering staff will do some of these things, but if you have a sucky caterer or you're just working with a caterer and you have a second, you're like, hey, I'll take the appetizers up to the bridal suite where they're gonna hang out after pictures or whatever, grab their cocktails for them. You're basically just helping the couple throughout the day. You're helping, doing some vendor coordinating, but mostly the vendors need to like be on their own, be on top of their own stuff. But if like a DJ sucks, which I recently worked a wedding and the DJ was horrible, and he played good music, but his personality was horrible, and he's not good at coordinate. Like the DJ is supposed to run the timeline of like first dances and speeches and things like that, and I had to totally be on top of him because it was just ridiculous. I was working for the venue at that point, so I was the lead coordinator there, and I was like, oh, speeches are at this time. Like speeches are at this time. Told the person that's doing, they only had one speech, so I told the person that was doing the speech, hey, you have to be over here at this time, whatever. Then the DJ was just not like, and then like 10 minutes had passed, and I was like, went back over to him like, what's going on? Like it's past time for this to happen. He's like, oh, well, I don't know, like who's doing the speech? Like he doesn't know anything, and I'm like, this is annoying. So I had to coordinate that. So, and also the photographers were getting annoyed because they were like, hey, the cake cutting is supposed to be happening, the speech is supposed to be happening, that's stuff that they're trying to take pictures of. And so there's a little bit of like that type of coordinating that is going on, but it's just like working with a good team is important. So if the only thing you get out of this and you're planning a wedding is that you need to pick good vendors that communicate well with you and with the other vendors, because that is very important. So another aspect of kind of the differences of working under a venue or under a planner is if you work under a venue, in theory, it's easier because you're working at the same location every time. The location of things are the same. Sometimes the ceremony space will change. Like the venue I work for has an indoor and an outdoor space, so sometimes that will change. Sometimes there's like a room flip where you have to, the ceremony's inside, and then you have to change the room over while people are in cocktail hour to the reception space. So that kind of changes per venue, but working at the same venue is nice because you know their systems, you know where things are, you know where the light switches are for everything. Like it's very like easy. And this venue that I work for, like the coordinator does handle like the timeline and things, because there are some venues that have a venue coordinator, but they're not really like as helpful. So like they're just there in case like something goes wrong or like someone needs to call 911, or like that's basically why they're there. They're there to tell you what they did and didn't pay for, and they're not necessarily there to like send your bridesmaids down the aisle. So there are definitely varying levels of a venue coordinator. So which sometimes I think I'm like, it would be nice to be a venue coordinator that's not actually coordinating the weddings and you're just there in case like something crazy happens, because that sounds nice. But then you pretty much just sit and like hang out for the entirety of the wedding, I guess. Maybe sometimes they have tasks, I don't know. But anyway, then working under a planner, you are gonna not be at the same venue all the time. I'm trying to think if I've even worked. I don't think I've done any weddings at the same, like multiple weddings at the same venues through any of the planners that I work for, which is kind of crazy. There had to be some overlap, but that's kind of crazy. But it is cool to see like a bunch of different venues, but then things are going to be different. Hopefully you have a venue coordinator if you're going in with a planner and they know their stuff about the venue, because if you're like, hey, I work for a like medical nonprofit, and so I worry about emergencies where someone's having a cardiac arrest and I need someone to call 911 and tell the people how to get here. And so like the venue coordinator is the best person to do that because they know the most about the venue and like how to get in and where to park and where they can pull up and all that type of stuff. And so having a venue coordinator is very like good if they know what they're doing. So because they can be really good to work with or they can be like horrible. But you get to see a lot of different venues. Everyone works differently. Every wedding is going to be very different. One of my coordinators that I work under does a lot of hotel weddings. So I will say a lot of those are the same. Just depends on like the way that the hotel is set up, but those pretty much always work the same, and it's like easy because hotels usually have parking and things. So that type of stuff is easy to just like work with. But so there's a lot of differences between those two different ways to work as a wedding coordinator. Now I want to talk about kind of the like downside of this and one of the couple reasons why I'm like kind of getting out of doing wedding coordinating, even though I already know I'm working one wedding next year, which is for a friend of mine, because I was talking about working weddings and because we had a mutual friend getting married, and this other friend was like, oh, like I'm getting married and I need a coordinator. And I was like, oh, maybe I could talk to like one of my people. And she's like, oh, can you do it? Like, can you be my coordinator? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. So I need to find out what time she needs me and like come with a price for myself to like work for her. But she might be the only wedding I do next year. We'll see. But anyway, well, one benefit I forgot to mention is that this is a totally side gig. So especially the people that I've worked for, like this is not a full-time thing, and they can't expect you to be available like every weekend for this. So because they know it's like a side thing, and if you work for someone that does not like understand that, then maybe you shouldn't work for that person. But I would say that it's nice because you can just pick and choose what days you want to work, or you can pick and choose like my one coordinator works weddings that are like in Virginia, and some of them are like 2 hours away, and I'm like, well, and she doesn't pay for mileage, so I'm like, well, I'm not doing that, driving 2 hours basically for free. That's 4 hours of my time that I'm not getting back, and then I'm also not getting paid for it. It's nice podcast listening time, but other than that, it's not like worth it. And which I totally forgot to say this earlier, but I'm sure it's in the title of the video or the description or whatever, but I made $5,500 in 2024 doing weddings, and that was from about 15 events. And that was from weddings and 2 or 3 days of like event staffing type positions. So like 12 weddings, I think. So that's a lot over the year. It seems like one a month, but like I think in October I had like 4. So sometimes it's like very busy and it just gets like kind of crazy. So back to the downsides conversation. You're on your feet like a lot, like all day pretty much until dinner is served. Like almost all day. And sometimes I don't get there until usually it's between 10 and 2 is when I would arrive as like the coordinator, but it depends on like what tasks I'm doing. Like if I'm managing the bridal party, then I might get there a little bit earlier, like 11 or 12, to like make sure they're on task with getting ready and like telling them like, hey, people are coming to take pictures of you guys, like bridesmaid pictures at whatever time, and like making sure they're on track and coordinating the first look and things like that if they have that, which I do not like coordinating the first look sometimes is hard depending on the venue and depending on like where the first look is, because if it's not a place designed to have a first look, then it's frustrating keeping people from seeing each other until they're supposed to. But I do like having a first look because then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like once the first look is done, you don't have to worry about the couple seeing each other. Like it's not a big deal anymore, and that is nice. But anyway, you're on your feet a lot, which is the main reason that I'm not going to do as many this year, because it really bothers my feet and my lower back to be on my feet for such a long time. And I am able to wear like a stretchy jumpsuit from Amazon, and I have like some nice sandals that are like cushy. They're like reef sandals. And I've worn tennis shoes before, and it just like, it's not really seen as unprofessional. It's like photographers will do the same thing. They'll wear like tennis shoes because they're on their feet like a lot of the day as well. And then during dinner, you basically can sit down, but then there's a lot of downtime. And like sometimes I've been like, I'm gonna like accomplish this task on the downtime. But then if I'm like lead assistant, I'm like hang out with my assistant coordinator is like there, and we're just kind of like chatting, and I feel like it's rude to like not just like chat with them. And so, which sounds mean, but then like I can't like bring my computer and like work on like other random tasks that I want to try to complete, because then I feel like I'm being rude to this like person. And so that downtime would be nice, but that it's just like not sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to keep talking to people like all the time. So anyway, that is kind of annoying, having the downtime where you basically are just like having forced interactions with the rest of the coordinators that you're with or other vendors. Usually you get a meal, which is nice. Usually, sometimes you'll eat the same thing as the rest of like everyone else, or they'll have like a special vendor meal that they serve you, which is usually chicken and potatoes or like beef and potatoes. And then another like kind of annoying thing is I don't like dealing with the vendors sometimes. For example, the last wedding that I worked, we had an issue where this was for the venue that I work for, and that venue doesn't have trash, like they don't have a dumpster. And so when a vendors have come, catering has to take all of the trash. And I think there was some miscommunication over the like people working for the caterer like knowing that they had to take the trash. Like the main lady for the caterer knew, because she came and talked to me at the beginning. She knew that they had to take all the trash, but I think some of her workers might not have like known that. So when the people from the bar went over and put their trash with the catering trash, this catering guy like got mad and like said something mean to the bar people. And so then the bar lady was like coming to me and like being all upset about this, and I was like, I am not like a mediator for this situation. Like I'll go talk to them and make sure that they know they're supposed to take the trash, which I already knew that they did because I already talked to the main caterer lady. But anyway, and the caterer lady came to me and she was like, hey, I'm sorry, that was like a misunderstanding. Like he didn't realize. There was also something about the way she like gave her trash to the catering people that was like frustrating to them. It was so annoying. And then the bartender people were trying to like, she was like asking me, she's like, do you know that guy? Like, do you know him? Like being all mad about the situation that happened. And I was like, I'm not interested in talking about the situation. Also, why would I know that random catering guy? No, I don't know him. And so it was just like, the whole situation just made me so mad. And I was like, this is why I'm like getting burnt out on weddings, and I don't want to do this anymore because it's just so annoying and like and that was such a small thing that happened that I think I handled pretty well, because I was just like, y'all don't even have to like each other. You might never see each other again. So like, this has nothing to do. I didn't even speak to that catering guy. So I was like, he's not my like person. I'm not in charge of him. And so it was just like, this is ridiculous, and I'm just like over this. But anyway, back to the main things. If this is something that you might be interested in, coming off of those bad experiences, but if this is something you think you might be interested in, I would recommend going to some Facebook groups for your area. Like I'm in like a Maryland wedding, I forget what it's called. I'll put them in the caption if I can think of them. Even though I wouldn't join them if you're not like in Maryland or the DMV area. I think one of them is a DMV like wedding vendor registry or whatever. But people post in there like, hey, I'm getting married on this day at this venue and I need a DJ, a photographer, whatever. And so I would go in that group, maybe make a post in there, or make a list of a bunch of different day of coordinating people that are in that group, cold call them, cold email them, just say like, I'm looking for experience in working weddings. One of my first weddings that I like worked was I just asked if I could shadow a day of coordinator that did my friend's wedding because I was like, this is the coolest thing like ever. And I loved seeing her do day of coordinating. And I was like, I want to like learn from you. So I asked her if I could just shadow her for a wedding. And so I like worked with her. She didn't pay me, but I just like went and worked a wedding just to see what it was and asked her a bunch of questions, and she was super helpful, and like I learned a lot from her even though she wasn't paying me. But I only did one with her because I was like, I'm not working for free like all the time. But anyway, so I would do that. There's also a lot of other wedding industry vendors that might need people, like florist people have, which working for a florist must be nice, even though the pay probably isn't as like good as day of coordinating, but they need people to help do setup, to help drop off. Like they have a ton of stuff that they bring. Sometimes they do the centerpiece decor and stuff. So they have to bring all of that stuff, pack all that stuff, drive it all over to the venue. Like they have a lot of jobs that they have to do in the morning. So they might need event staff. Caterers need a lot of people, a lot of servers, a lot of people to pick up plates and things like that, which is the servers as well. People to like serve at the buffet, things like that. So a lot of people work in catering. I've never done it and I'm not big on working in food, but I think that that could be lucrative. And photographer people, photo booths need people to run the photo booth. Like, and all of them would have like similar hours. Like the photo booth shows up later, obviously, because it's just for the reception, but, and I don't really know how much that would pay, but it's basically the same type of thing, just working at a wedding and running a photo booth and just like problem solving and taking the pictures for people. So there's a lot of different options that you can do in this niche, but even though I'm leaving it in 2026 ish, maybe it would be something that you could start up, make a couple extra $100 a month doing it. If it's October or June or May, you could probably make more than that in 1 month. But because it can be lucrative, I usually made about like 120 to about $300 per wedding, depending on whether they pay me mileage or not. The planner that paid me mileage, like that was like clutch because sometimes it added like 50 or 60, $75 to my pay for the wedding, which is like so worth it because she paid I think 70 cents a mile or something like that. So yeah, if you have any questions or you're interested in getting started in this, you think it's something that would work for you, but you have questions or like you're not really sure about some things, let me know. I've worked a lot of different weddings and maybe I'll work some more in 2026, but stay tuned for that. So this is a side hustle that I think would be really easy to get started as long as you're just like an organized person, like a go-getter type of person and can solve problems. I think that's the main things that you would need to work as a day of coordinator. So let me know if you have any questions about this or you want to hear more or whatever. I would love to hear from you. So other than that, have a great day.